Hey guys, it's the East Coast Economic Update for March the 4th, 2010. Just a couple of items just wanted to throw at you. One is the U.S. pending home sales were down 7.6%. What does this mean? It means that people don't have money to buy a house, even with an $8,000 tax credit, which is going to end in April of this year. The bigger problem overall that I foresee is the fact that when you do go to buy a house, the $8,000 tax credit doesn't do you any good when they're asking for 30% on a $400,000 home. So if you had $180,000 or $200,000 basically to put down on a house, you'd probably build one instead of buy one. So no matter what the pundits are saying about banks starting to offer more lending, they're not. They're offering lending, all right, as long as you come up with enough money to basically buy the house and they, sign off on it, basically. And this is going to continue to happen until the prices come down. This is not how an open free market works. Supply and demand is very clear. If your house is too expensive and the bank is asking for 30% down, something's got to give, and that got to give is ultimately the price. So if you can't afford a $180,000 down payment, but you can afford, say, a $30,000 payment, obviously the price of that $400,000 home has to come down to a substantial amount, maybe up to 80%. Don't forget, guys, the only time that this has ever happened where housing prices have shot up by 30% a year for 10 years, 95 to 2005, happened only one other time during the Great Depression. And what transpired was that the houses became cheap because they were so far underwater that the banks couldn't sell them and had to sell them at a loss. That is open market. Also, Carl Denninger did a wonderful blog posting on the concept of inflation, and basically pointing out that we're in a period of deflation, and breaks it down for you, and also points out that municipalities and cities and towns and states are going to continue to implode infinitum, because we're not making the money that we were making even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's going to continue to do so, especially with the consideration of the millennials, as they're now referred to, the group of people that are 18 to 25, who I may throw in the Huffington Post article about the millennials. Very interesting group of people, this new generation. They're highly educated. All of them have graduated from college, about 85% with a degree. They are either unemployed or underemployed. That's 85%. And approximately, I believe, 80% of them live at home. And they're happy. The ultimate in social welfare. Mom and dad covers your ass, and you get to hang out with your friends, and you only have to work 20 hours a week. Sounds like the German welfare system that is presently in existence and may actually have to happen here, considering that the new unemployment standard probably for the next 20 years will be about 8%. Don't forget also, as a side note, I was listening to an NPR article. Actually, it was, if you can look up yesterday's Marketplace, around 15 minutes into the show, this guy points out that there are 10 million people unemployed, and that out of that 10 million people, the age range is between 35 and 55 years old. That means that you have a highly educated, well-experienced group of people who are white-collar, primarily, that can't get a job. These people are now fighting for the millennial jobs, and the millennials can take these jobs because mom and dad are supporting them. and the other ones who are basically on their own because mom and dad are dead, probably, chances are, or incapacitated to the point where uh, they can't financially help you out. This is going to be a very interesting dichotomy of both culture and generation, because you get the Generation Xers and some of the boomers fighting over their children and grandchildren for crap ass jobs. And that goes back to Carl Denger's article saying, you can't generate large amounts of revenue when you take people who are highly educated and they're now flipping burgers and offering you lattes for you know for a third of their income. So you can't support the state as you have in the past with that low tax base. Finally, which is in the strange and the interesting, uh, I have an article that NASA had pointed out that the Chilean earthquake was so intense that the mantle shifted and the pole, the axis shifted a very small amount, a minute amount. But this brings us to this concept of pole shifts. Could be, I mean, we've seen more earthquakes in the last 24 months than I think we've seen in probably the last 5 years. And they've all been fairly intense. And I think that there's, based on what web bots say, I mean, I don't, whatever you think of the web bots, but they're the ones that have been saying that there would be an increase in earthquakes, and there have been. So, you take it as you see fit. I take everything with a grain of salt, and uh, I try to see hear what the person says and the proof, and see how it works. Sometimes in the universe it doesn't operate in the A plus B equals C kind of situation. I honestly believe that the earth and people and the nature are intertwined, and I think that the stresses and the destruction and the hatred and everything else is affecting the planet, amongst other things that we're now kind of shifting into the edge of the Milky Way towards that black hole that exists, that we all know about, well, that anybody who's read anything about, and is going to put a strain on it. And other proofs, such as melting ice caps and liquid Plutos and liquid, Neptunes, and we don't know where that heat is coming from or that energy is coming from. We just know it exists. So I left those 3 articles for you. You take them as you will, and God willing, we'll get through this thing. All right, guys, till further notice, good Shabbos, and if I don't see you, and peace.